Hi everybody, it's Zeraldo here again. Today I'm going to be giving you a full breakdown on the Chronomancer class. I'll give you some more basic information about it in a minute or so, but for now I just want to address a few little issues. Firstly, I'm thinking about actually getting proper intros for the videos, just so that it's a bit clear which kind of video it is. But I don't have the time to make one of those at the moment, as I am a student in my final year of school and I do have some trial exams coming up, and basically if I screw up at the end of the year, these are what I'm going to say my butt, so these are important. So again, when I have time. Secondly, that's the major issue. Because I'm still at school, I don't have the time to make these videos as often as I'd like, and that's why as of yet there aren't actually any class breakdowns. Well, save for this one. Yeah, but that should hopefully change in time. Just so you know, the next class video breakdown should be the Darkcaster class, which I'll try my best to get out as soon as Darkcaster comes out, within a day or two. Okay, so we'll move on to the next step. To give a bit of extra background about the Chronomancer class, as you can see, it's quite a nice looking class. It was released alongside the 2011 calendar, which came out in about November of 2010 as a added special offer bonus sort of thing. It also came with the Chronomancer class in Dragon Fable, the Chronomancer Mech and Mech Quest, which scaled from level 1 to 100, and the armor in Adventure Quest, which has armors every 20 levels ranging from 20 to 120. Yeah, I can't remember if I've already said this, but too bad. It's a very nice looking class. It comes with the cape as well. It even has a, well, I've added the staff, which comes from the Dragon Secret novel. Now this class is rare. There were originally there were meant to be 1,000, but I think they printed 2 extra batches of calendars, so there's only about 3,000 people with the Chronomancer class. As such, you can no longer get it, and I'm assuming it will never be made available again. Now, you may be wondering, why am I making a guide on how to use this for such a select few? It's so that those who don't have it but are curious as to how it actually performs in combat can see how it works. It's also for maybe the few that do want to get another perspective on how to use this class. The first thing I'm going to do is give you guys a breakdown on the individual skills using the fighter enhancements. I'll go into specific builds and what works best later, but for the moment I'll just give you guys this basic run through. So the first move to be aware of is Temporal Strike. It costs 5 mana, it's got a 2-second cooldown, it's based on your magical and physical damage, so that opens it up to hybrid and other enhancements. And it's essentially the lifeblood of the class, as it applies Temporal Rift, which stacks 4 times, and without it you'll find yourself doing 0 damage. However, with it, your damage will start to increase. You don't really want to find yourself doing a 0 heal or a 0 attack or a 0 damage over time, as it's not very useful. So it's a must. You've got to keep using it. The second move is Rift Inversion, which is a heal for 20 mana. It's got a 12-second cooldown, and it's also based off your physical and magical stats. How it works is that it actually heals you for the amount, well, based off of the amount of the damage the enemy has done to you, and the stacks of Temporal Rift. So, as a result, it's not the most useful heal out there, and it will only do up to 40% of your maximum health. So it's a fair heal. The downside is that it takes away all stacks of Temporal Rift, and you're unable to start stacking Temporal Rift again for about 6 seconds. But during that time, your haste is increased as a sort of compromise. So it's a nice class, but in a boss situation, you're not getting that steady damage, and you might want to consider a healer class. Rift Collapse is 30 mana, 6-second cooldown, physical and magical, and does a fair amount of damage. After it's based off of the amount of damage you have done to your enemy in the last little while, and the stacks of Temporal Rift. This consumes the stacks of Temporal Rift as well, but unlike Rift Inversion, it doesn't prevent you from reactivating them. You can start reactivating them right away. The final move the class has to offer, also is called Rift Burn, which is for 50 MP, which is quite pricey and has a large cooldown. Now, it's a damage over time, and this is where the class strategy starts coming in. This one's purely based on your magical damage. Now, unlike the other class moves, this damage over time doesn't actually require anything along the lines of how much damage you've done or how much has been done to you. It just requires 4 stacks, so it's quite quick. Within about 18 seconds you have this thing ready to go, and once it's over you finish it off with large strikes like that. It's actually really good to use in conjunction with Rift Collapse, because as you saw there, I did a hit for 4,600. The best thing to do is to get your 4 stacks of Rift Burn on bosses or tough enemies, activate Rift Burn, and then during that time get your Temporal Strike back up to full, and once you've done your massive damage over time, activate Rift Collapse and you will do a very large hit. Try not to be too bothered by the heal, but make sure you use it. Now for the passive abilities this class has. The first thing to bear in mind is that because it's one of the older classes, it doesn't have a rank 10. That said, the rank 4 passives are pretty good. It increases your dodge chance by 15%. Considering most are only about 8, 5 or 10%, 15% is something to be happy with. Spring forward, the increase is only by 5%, but that's for 3 different stats. Critical strike, percentage chance to hit, and haste. So they are some quite nice passives for the class. Some general words of advice before I give any specific stat builds. You'll be wanting to use a relatively stable damage range when you choose your weapon. This is because a lot of the moves take a while to set up, and you don't want something random coming along and wrecking something you've spent a good 20-30 seconds setting up. So something like this, maybe a bit wider, maybe a bit narrower, is perfect. Now, as far as individual builds go, if you're looking for survivability, a bit of a heal, and still fair damage, go with all fighter or mostly fighter and a bit of luck. The luck will increase crit, but most importantly the strength will provide you with a relatively stable damage and better damage and physical damage, which will empower these moves here. You'll do decent damage, but you won't be quite as powerful as you would be. If you want something a bit more powerful but decrease survivability, go for full wizard or mostly wizard and a little bit of luck. This is because this final move here is powered purely by your magical damage. With my stable damage range and purely with the magical damage and wizard enhancements, the damage over time starts off at 60, which isn't much, but its final strike for damage over time is just under 2,000. So you do a good almost 3,500 damage with the damage over time, and then you consider that if you're under the effects of Temporal Rift and you use Rift Collapse after that large amount of damage over time, you can expect to hit about 6,000 on a non-crit. With full wizard I was able to hit about 13,500. That might have been a bit more with a bit of extra luck. It might not have. PvP, I'm not sure that I would recommend this class for a PvPer. It just seems to be too unreliable and too weird. You've got to actually be able to hit your opponent with Temporal Strike to be able to set anything up. However, if you can, Rift Burn is a damage over time. So if you can hit them in the first instance, they will not be able to dodge, and that can be good. And in case you can't finish them off, there's always the heal to keep you alive a bit longer, or Rift Collapse, which with Rift Burn will do a lot of damage. Personally, it's a great class. I like it. I don't use it as much as I should, but it is great, and if you can figure out how to exploit it, you can do some large damage. It's good for boss situations. Even if you're using full fighter though, make sure you do have someone that can heal you, or maybe slip in a healing potion. That'll be all for today, and hopefully the next video will be the Dark Caster class breakdown. See you then.